Hi everyone, Gabby here, owner and clinical director at Recovered and Restored Eating Disorder Therapy Center. I wanted to jump on today and say hi. I also am coming on today to talk about with you breaking up with the scale. So I know this is kind of a hot topic in eating disorder treatment and all of those things, but from our perspective at Recovered and Restored, the scale really holds very little value. So I'm going to talk about why. And I will say, please take our perspective with a grain of salt. If it doesn't feel like it aligns with your personal recovery, that's fine. That's more than fine. So just take this as I hope helpful information. And again, if it's not for you, that's okay. So anyway, the reason why we encourage clients to break up with the scale is because we know, again, that it holds really little value and there are just way better markers for health. Weight and health are not the same. Now, a lot of times when we are in an active eating disorder, we are really tied to that number one way or another. And we're either typically chasing it so that it keeps going down, which I can promise you, your body is good. You do not need to change your body to be worthy. But so we're either chasing that thin ideal, we're chasing a number that our eating disorder has made up in our brain. And I can promise you that that number really will never be reached because sadly, the disorder just keeps wanting you to go lower and lower and lower. So as someone who has been there, done that, I can promise you it's an unachievable goal that I think we get really stuck on when we get stuck on numbers and weight and all of that stuff. But anyway, I say all that to say there are just better measures of health, and weight and health are not the same. Also, as we chase this Zen ideal, it becomes unhealthy and unhelpful as we try to navigate recovery. So I'm going to share a couple tips that I typically give clients. Again, if you don't align with these tips or if they don't feel helpful, please don't use them. Turn off the video, whatever feels right for you. So the first tip, or the first thing we're going to talk about is why that number matters to the client. What are they chasing? Are they chasing acceptance? Are they chasing perfection? Are they chasing love? What are they chasing? What does that number actually mean to them? If you are in your disorder right now and you are chasing whatever that number may be, please know that one, healing is possible. First and foremost, healing is possible. But as I said earlier, that number will just keep going down and down because of the nature of your eating disorder. So you're just not chasing a goal that you're ever going to really be able to achieve or that's probably healthy for your body. But so I would say, what does that number mean to you? Why do we want to be XYZ pounds? Or say that someone's on the other end, because that's okay too, and say that they want the number to go up. We would probably encourage that, right? Because that would probably be more recovery aligned. But say that they have a narrative around that number so that they can look a certain way or it's very appearance based. We're going to just try to figure out the narrative. We're going to try to figure out where it's coming from, why it's holding so much value, and we're going to go from there. So first, why? What does this number mean to you? What is the value? What is the narrative? Two, then I'm going to say to them, how do you actually feel when you get on the scale? Tell me what's happening before you get up, during, and after. Now, with some clients, and this is something I struggled with too, they may weigh themselves multiple times a day, and it oftentimes will really impact their mood and also their food choices. So if this is you, this is a sign, break up with the scale. And I know much, much easier said than done. Okay. So if this is you, it's okay. Again, you've got this, you can heal, you can recover. But then let this just kind of clue in that that's disordered. People don't get on the scale multiple times a day. In fact, most people don't check their weight often. So just know that if you are someone who's checking your weight every day, one, that's really unhelpful because our bodies fluctuate, which is perfectly normal, within a 24-hour period pretty regularly. Also, what again is it doing to your mood and your well-being and also your food choices? So if you're getting on and it's putting you in a good mood because it's going down, but then it's affecting your food choices, that's disordered. Or if you're getting on and it's going up and you're freaking out and that's also affecting your food choices, that's disordered. So, and I would say to my clients, because this term I like to use, how is that serving you? I know when I was in that, and I don't mean this term in a derogatory way, it felt like insanity, right? The definition of insanity. Now, no one here is insane. So please take this statement for just tongue in cheek. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you are that person that is getting on the scale multiple times a day, expecting to feel better when you see XYZ number and you don't, you are one, not insane, just for the record. It has to be exhausting. I just want to validate that exhaustion and that frustration, that overwhelm. And also, I would say, is it serving you? And the answer is probably not, right? If you feel like it is, I would ask you to just examine that a little bit more, maybe journal, think about it, talk with your therapist, your team, if you are privileged enough to have one. But so, okay, so what's happening before, during, and after? How is your mood changing? How are you feeling affected? And then asking ourselves, is this serving me? The answer is probably not. Again, if the answer is yes, maybe take some more inventory, or again, maybe this video just doesn't apply to you, and that's okay. And then the third thing I would have clients do is say, okay, where is the scale in your house? Sometimes when we are in proximity to a scale, we feel a lot more drawn to it, which I also want to remind everyone that when we step on this scale, it's literally just gravity. I joked with eating disorder professionals a long time ago that if I ever wrote a book about my journey and my eating disorder, it would be called Just Gravity. It's just gravity, guys. It's our relationship to the world. That's all that it means. That number holds no value on who you are, your worthiness, your acceptance, your love, none of those things. All that said, where's your scale? Is it in your bathroom? Is it in your parents' bathroom? Is it in your closet? Where is it? If it's in your house, you're more likely to use it. So I would say, how can we maybe separate ourselves from the proximity of the scale? Whether that might mean putting it on a different floor if we're not ready to get rid of it, throwing it in the trash or smashing it. That would be my personal preference. Or maybe we just are kind of staying away from wherever it is when we can, right? And also putting space between the urge and the action. This is something I talk about a lot with clients. So we're not only going to try to create physical space, whether it be moving it to a different room in the house so you don't really go in, actually putting it in someone else's closet so you don't really think about it, you don't really have access to it, telling someone you love that you're trying to do it less, but putting space, not only the physical space, but space between the urge and the action, which is where the support comes in. I know I always talk about this, find your tribe, find your community, hold them tight. They will be there for you in these hard times. So who can be your support person? Who can be your accountability buddy? Not the food police, not the scale police, no repercussions if you do decide to weigh yourself, but more so just like a checkpoint of like, hey, I'm feeling that urge to get on the scale. Whether it's your partner, your friend, your parent, your teacher, whoever it might be, right? Check in with them and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. Can you help me, redirect? Or I'm telling you this because I don't want to do this, with the acknowledgement that you still can because you have autonomy and right to your own personal recovery. So that would be kind of my third tip. Let's create space between the urge and the action. One, by relocating the scale if we can, and two, by bringing in support. So I know these are just some really kind of simple tips for breaking up with the scale. I also would close it by saying, trust your body. Your body knows what to do. It knows what you need. So trust your body. So my tips for today, ultimately, always, I guess the number one tip of all time, trust your body. Your body is brilliant. Your body is amazing. I know it doesn't always feel that way, but it knows what to do. But the first practical tip I gave is, let's talk about the narrative that you have around that number. What does that number mean to you? The second tip that I want you to try to use is asking yourself about the before, during, and after on the scale, and ask yourself if the scale is serving you. And then the last thing is create space between the urge and the action by one, possibly creating literal space. Again, my ideal would be getting rid of it altogether, but I know that takes time, that takes healing, that takes practice, right? But if we're in the house, right, creating literal space, right, different floor, different area, and then bringing in our support system to help create space between the urge and the action. If you guys would like to talk more about this skill of getting rid of the scale or just anything related to eating disorders, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, depression, body image, we have got your back at Recovered and Restored. We are taking new clients. I am personally, for the first time in like so long, taking new clients. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me or my amazing, amazing team. Also, this video is not a supplement for therapy. I'm sorry about that. I wish it could be, but this is not therapy. We have to do the work with a professional. But it was just made to, I hope, help you on your journey to recovery. I hope to encourage you today to remind you that healing is possible. And again, if we can help in any way, coveredandrestoredtherapy.com. Bye, guys.